Making characters is hard. So hard that I'm not going to go into every aspect of character building in this one video, because there are just too many parts to list. While I'll address those some other time, here we'll go over the more important parts needed to make a character. Not sure what those are? Well, you probably do. This will just be a reminder. Compare making a character to the other more known parts of world building. Cultures, histories, landmasses. Like characters, these can be based off real things or made up from scratch. But characters are different in that they aren't static. Sure, in the way the story progresses, these three might change, but unless specifically touched, they exist in the background and are very hard to change unintentionally. Characters, on the other hand, grow all the time. Just like regular people, every experience they go through changes them, and thus no one fully remains static. Unfortunately, due to the nature of just how stories work, characters tend to have the spotlight shining on them at all times. And for story purposes, you can't have much of a conflict if you have no characters. If you're going to have a story, you're going to need, well, people. And the people you make have to be people. You'd be surprised how easy that is to mess up. For each world builder, there are a different set of priorities in terms of what makes a person, but the few I personally think make the core of a character consists of history, personality, flaws, appearance, actions, and humanity. If you have each of these 6 covered, then it should be easier to make a fleshed out character that people can enjoy instead of seeing them as a plot device. I like going in this order, but if you feel that you work better with starting somewhere else, then go for it. Some people like making designs first before everything else. Again, up to you. History forms the foundation of your character. It's where we establish what they've been through and what they can do. Once you establish it, you can use history to form the other parts. For an example, let's introduce a girl named Alan. She's a born slave that managed to escape her captors and stow away into a merchant ship to another continent. She had a group of fellow slaves that helped her, but they all died in the attempt, some of whom sacrificed themselves to make sure she got away. In showing this, we can give her a variety of skills, like her ability to sneak around to avoid punishment, or her ability to talk her way onto a merchant ship. It's possible she also has minor skills, like knowing how to sing because an older slave taught her. Put in names for where she was enslaved and where she escaped, and you've got yourself a pretty simple backstory. Of course, I could always fill it out more, but a bit on that later. For now, this is sufficient. And all that info will help form the personality. Is she sad that in order to gain her freedom she had to lose her friends? Is she angry for being treated like dirt for most of her life? Is she happy that she finally gained the freedom she wanted? A mixture of all three? Probably all three. Why? Because that's just how people work. No one is angry all the time. Likewise, no one is happy all the time. The human mind is a complicated mess of emotions that never settles on one in particular. Just because someone is angry a lot doesn't mean they can't be happy too. The question is, which one is shown more often due to their history? Alan, from what her history shows, is going to be suspicious and untrusting. Aside from other slaves, she doesn't have a lot of positive experiences with people, so of course she'd be. Does she always have to be like this? Of course not. But again, we'll talk more on that later. Now, it's in these personalities we will find flaws. I have to really stress this. No one is perfect. Ever. Can you ever recall anyone that's just been absolutely perfect, with no flaws whatsoever? Probably not. If you do, that just means you haven't seen that side of them. As a world builder, you are making people. You do see all sides. Just because someone is confident looking to others, doesn't mean they don't have their own bundles of insecurities themselves. Now, there's no need to overblow this. You don't walk down the street and see a giant sign above people's heads saying what their biggest problems are. Many people will never admit what their personal flaws are, but they do have them. For Alan, she could be distrusting. Her backstory certainly allows it. She could be book dumb, as living as a slave doesn't allow for much learning. Maybe she could also have PTSD. But that's usually considered kind of over the top and shouldn't be added unless you're really comfortable with what you're writing. You don't need to make things needlessly convoluted if you don't need to. Also keep in mind that, like emotions, people don't just have a singular flaw. Alan can have multiple flaws, like being greedy because she's never had stuff before. She could believe that people who weren't slaves won't ever understand her circumstances. A girl who was sold as property probably doesn't believe she has much self-worth. And lacking social experiences could make her blunt. You could add one of these, or everything together. It's up to you how many you want to give your character, but understand that any character must have flaws. Real flaws too. None of that too beautiful or too pure garbage. For now, Alan here is untrusting and a bit materialistic. And her appearance should reflect everything we've set up about her. Despite it not being as important as the other three, what your character looks like is typically the first thing that people make impressions of when first seen. Clothes make the man, after all. Or woman. If someone fights a lot, maybe they have armor or a lot of muscles. If someone is smart, maybe they have a book nearby or glasses. Lots of money? Whatever posh fashion designs you've made. For the bits and pieces we've settled on for Alan, preliminary designs have her look at least like a girl and slightly angry. Other features are up in the air and can depend on personal taste and internal consistency. For example, Alan is poor, not having much to go for in beauty care. I gave her short hair because I imagine she doesn't have time or resources for long hair. Her clothing could be rags, or bits and pieces of stuff she's found. Considering what I've said it so that Alan is somewhat greedy, maybe she stole those clothes. It's not like she can be fashionable when she has no money or friends to give tips. For physical characteristics, skin, hair, and eyes will be determinant on where she originally hails from, or again just personal taste. Maybe she has scars to surround her body from working without rest. How about a tattoo to imply property? Their appearance usually reflects the type of person they are or what they've been through. Over time in the story, as your person grows, their appearance may also change. Maybe little Allie gets a redesign to something more comfortable when she feels safer and has more money. But for now, all we see is Alan as she left the boat. Dirt poor with not much to her name. So on our little diagram, we have done the 4 limbs. Each part makes the character feel more complete, but these 4 are specifically the limbs because you can miss one or two and still come up fine. Not everybody needs a big backstory or have a unique appearance, but you're never going to get away with missing most of them. However, the other 2 factors, actions and humanity, are different. Without them, your character won't function well. Actions are the biggest signifier about what a character is truly like. The age-old saying, actions speak louder than words, is a lesson precious few really keep in mind. There is quite a difference between threatening someone with bodily harm and actually doing it. The only thing we know for sure about Alan's previous actions is what's provided in her history. She is an ex-slave and that she escaped at the cost of her friends. Presumably, the story starts with her off the boat with no one she knows and with no support. How she reacts to her situation will determine just what type of person she'll become. We can go many directions with this, but the overall important bit is that her actions have to make sense. With her background in slavery, do you think Alan would sell someone for a few extra coins? The most likely answer is no. As creators, we have to make sure that what we know of the character doesn't contradict what they're actually doing. Don't stress too hard about this though. It's all about the context of the situation and how the logic runs through their head. It should be relatively easy to do, so long as you're aware that it's supposed to be their decisions, not yours. Which brings up my last point, humanity. Admittedly, I kind of consider naming this relatability, but relatability is kind of overrated. After all, finding something relatable to every human being is going to be impossible. There are always going to be exceptions. Not everybody has moved to a new place with none of their friends with them. Some people have never lost a family member. Others are born social and know how to interact with people naturally. What is applicable to one may not to another. No, this refers to acting like a human being. It's something I find to be a problem for stories that have characters that are too smart, too strong, too evil, too perfect, etc. They're typically some idealized version of a concept. You don't look at them and think a human being could act the way they do. Their presence become overbearing, and in turn their character traits matter more than their actual character. You don't understand them. Alan is made up of pieces laid up in the previous bits, but those individually do not make up what she is now. She finds herself in a different place, unsure of the new people and places she's going. She is sad, alone, with nothing on her except for the clothes on her back. But she's free. She's never seen this many people not in chains. Fresh food, open spaces, people smiling. She realizes she's free to do whatever she wants. And from here, she can either enjoy her freedom to the fullest, or do everything in her power to make sure she never goes back. You might not relate, you might not agree with her decisions, but you understand. That is what is important. It's not about how relatable someone is, it's how human they are. Or not human. Depends on the direction you want to take. These are the core aspects of what, in my opinion, makes a character. Not a great one, not an awful one, just a character. Whether or not they end up well written or not is a process that you will take charge of, but keep in mind that these 6 should be a part of any character you make. Since I put Alan through the 6 steps, is she a full-fledged character? Not even remotely. You may have noticed, but Alan only has the bare minimum of each step. And that's because all we've made so far is just an outline. Go back to any of these steps, and we can change whatever we feel we need or don't need. Maybe she should have long hair. She could be educated because someone taught her. Maybe she's more happy than distrusting. Once you're happy with your base, work on it, and see for yourself just how well you can integrate it into your world. If, by chance, you think that everything I said was just repeating what you already knew, then good. That means you're on a good path. But if by chance, if you didn't, or if at least it will reinforce what you already knew, then I think it's time well spent. If you think I didn't go that far in depth into how these 6 matter, don't worry, I'll have some more videos that will go more in depth. I told you making a character is hard. That's all I have for now. Thanks for listening, and see you next time!